Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive?
Always.
Well, today we're tackling something pretty powerful, uh,
Yeah,
the concept of WHY.
big one.
We're cracking open Simon Sinek's Find Your Why
Yes.
to really get to the heart of what drives us. And I gotta say, Sinek doesn't mess around.
No, he doesn't.
He gives you a framework, ties it to, get this, biology,
Mm.
and how helping others can actually be incredibly fulfilling.
It's amazing how he lays that out.
Right.
So we've got the golden circle,
Uh-huh.
and it starts with WHY, right in the center. Then it goes to how W, then what.
See, I think a lot of us get tripped up because we go like outside in.
Totally. We lead with what we do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you look at the people or, companies that just draw you in.
The inspiring ones.
Yes. And it's because they're starting with that WHY.
100%.
I used to think this whole WHY thing was just, for gurus or, like motivational posters.
Yeah.
But then I read about Steve.
The steel salesman.
Yes. And it just clicked.
Such a good example. I mean, years he's focused on what and how W, all that technical stuff about the steel.
Right.
Until someone finally asks him, so what?
Uh-huh. Like, get to the point already.
Yeah, and that's when he gets to his WHY. He believes in using resources responsibly, that it should benefit everyone.
Not just steel anymore.
Nope.
It's a vision.
Exactly. And think about how this applies to you.
Okay, yeah.
Like a job interview.
Okay.
You could list your skills, your experience.
The usual stuff.
Right. But imagine connecting with that interviewer on a deeper level by sharing your WHY.
Ooh, I like that.
What actually drives you to do this work?
Okay, I get that. So knowing your WHY, you're a better communicator.
Absolutely.
But I'm still not totally clear on how it helps me, like, every day, making decisions.
Sure. So think of it this way. Every day, you've got choices, big or small.
Yeah.
What job to take, which project is priority, even how you spend your weekend.
Oh, yeah.
When your WHY is clear, those decisions, they get easier because you have this inner compass.
So it's less about, like, chasing what feels good in the moment
Right.
and more about, like, aligning with my values and my purpose.
And that's how you get to that lasting fulfillment Sinek talks about.
It's not just happiness.
No, it's deeper.
Okay, so that's the difference. But how do we even find our WHY?
So Sinek, he gives you a process.
I know, but when I first read it,
A little overwhelming.
totally.
It's not as bad as it seems, though. You start with stories from your past.
Not just any stories, though.
Right. These are moments emotionally charged, positive or negative.
He calls it peaks and valleys, right?
Yeah.
I love that. Like picturing the highs and lows of your life.
Exactly. Imagine a line on a page. Peaks above, valleys below, achievements, joy, heartbreak, struggle. It all goes on there.
I bet everyone listening is already thinking about theirs. So then what?
Next step, super crucial. You got to share these stories
Okay.
with someone. A friend, mentor, anyone who will listen objectively.
Oh, so it's not enough to just think about them on my own.
Nope, you need that outside view to spot the patterns.
But finding the right person
Mm-mm.
and making it like a good conversation, that can be hard.
You're right. This isn't casual. It's deep stuff. Choose someone you trust, good listener, won't push their own ideas on you. And make the setting comfortable. Dim lights, maybe some music, whatever helps you open up.
Like setting the stage.
Exactly.
Okay, so I share my stories, they're taking notes,
Yeah.
and then we go for patterns. Right?
Exactly. Like themes that keep popping up, values that show up in multiple stories.
Mhm.
And that's when you start seeing your WHY emerge.
Ah, like the pieces of a puzzle.
Exactly. They help you see the bigger picture
And then once you've got that, you start making your why statement.
with that TO, so that format.
Oh, yeah, I love that. It's so clear.
It really is. It's like, here's my contribution to the world,
Mm.
and here's the impact I want to make.
It's all laid out.
Remember Todd?
Oh, with the lemonade stand.
Yes. He found his WHY through something so seemingly small.
That one really got me. How kindness can be so powerful.
He was struggling in life. But giving that change, it gave him so much fulfillment. He realized his WHY was making people feel like they mattered, empowering them.
Shows you our WHY can hide in the strangest places.
It really can. And don't rush this. Sinek says it's a journey. It takes time, reflection.
So it's okay to start with something rough, then refine it.
Exactly. He even has this fun exercise, the friends exercise.
Oh, right, where you ask friends what they admire about you.
Yeah. It's like crowdsourcing self-awareness.
I like that. Okay, so we've got the golden circle, peaks and valleys, the partner, even the friends exercise. But what about groups?
Oh, yeah. Sinek talks about tribe-wide discovery.
Yeah, how a whole team can find their WHY together.
Makes sense, right. Organizations are like people. They need a purpose, more than
Yeah,
just profit.
definitely. It's like La Marzocco, the coffee machine company. They went way beyond just selling machines.
They built a whole community. It's amazing.
It is.
They realized it wasn't about the machines.
It was about connection.
Yes, sharing the experience of coffee, enriching lives.
Okay, so last part, we dove deep into WHY. And honestly, I kind of thought, all right, got my WHY, I'm good.
Easy trap to fall into, right?
It is. But then Cynic hits us with HOHYs. And I was like, whoa, there's more.
There's always more. Think of it this way. Your WHY, that's like your destination.
Oh, yeah, where I want to go.
Exactly. But your HOWs, those are the roads you take to get there.
I like that. Okay, so it's not enough just to know where I'm headed.
Right. You need a plan. The actions you take, your values, those strengths you bring, it's what makes the journey happen.
So if I'm looking at the golden circle, WHY is at the center.
Yep.
HOWs are like branching out from that.
Exactly.
And then what? That's all the stuff I actually achieve.
You got it. And here's the cool part. You can have two people or even two companies with basically the same WHY,
Okay.
but their HOWs are totally different. Like, imagine two musicians both passionate about sharing their music.
I can see that.
One's a total stage performer, loves the crowd. The other, amazing in the studio, tech whiz.
So same drive, but different ways of expressing it.
Exactly. That's what makes them stand out.
Makes sense. So it's not enough to just have a WHY. It's how you live it out, those actions, right?
You nailed it. But how do we figure out those HOWs? Is there a, process for that too?
Right, because finding my WHY was a whole thing.
Well, remember all those stories you gathered for the WHY discovery?
Yeah, lots of digging into my past.
The ones that maybe didn't fit perfectly into your WHY but still felt important?
Okay, yeah.
Those are gold for your HOWs.
Oh, interesting. So I'm not just tossing them aside.
Nope. It's like looking at the same notes with a new perspective. Instead of the big WHY, zoom in on the actions in those stories, the values.
Okay, so what was I actually doing in those moments?
Yes. And look for patterns. What comes up over and over, even when you're not trying? What values do you just naturally live by?
You know what? This is making me think about that giant workshop we did for that tech company, remember?
Oh, yeah. With, what was it, over 150 people?
Yeah. I'm freaking out at first, like, how are we going to adapt our stuff for that many people?
It was intense.
But we did it. And I think it's because we each had our, natural HOWs.
No, absolutely. Me, I tend to step back, get up on the balcony, as they say. So I focused on the overall strategy, making sure the core message came through, even with the huge crowd.
And me, I'm all about connecting one-on-one, making people feel comfortable to share. So I focused on breaking everyone into smaller groups, getting those deeper conversations going.
And honestly, our individual HOWs wouldn't have worked if we weren't aligned on the WHY. We both believed in that workshop, wanted it to be transformative.
That's so true. It's like the WHY was the foundation, and our HOWs were how we each built on top of that,
Perfect analogy. So for organizations, it's kind of the same, right? They got to figure out those HOWs too. Values, actions that make their WHY real.
But how do they even start with that?
It involves getting input from everyone, not just the higher-ups. It's like tapping into the collective wisdom to see what really makes this organization tick.
So it's not just the CEO's vision, it's everyone contributing.
Exactly. And once those HOWs are clear, they got to be woven into everything. Culture, decisions, the whole works.
Can't just be words on a wall.
Absolutely not. Sinek mentions this company, Cuestamores, in Costa Rica.
Okay, yeah, I think I remember that one.
Their WHY was to innovate relentlessly to create opportunities for everyone. Inspiring stuff, right?
It is.
But they took it further. They identified their HOWs. Things like breaking new ground, embracing change, learning with humility, doing what's right, working together. And get this, they even created a system for making decisions.
Wow, really?
Called the Cuestamores system. And it bakes their HOWs into every decision. It's not just theory, it's who they are.
That's pretty awesome. It's like those HOWs become their guiding principles.
Exactly. And I love that other example, the team with the WHY about holding space for people to challenge their boundaries.
Oh yeah, that one was powerful.
Their HOWs were all about support, celebrating differences, recognizing small wins, openness, bringing together talent.
Lots of different ways to approach it.
Right. And that's the point. There's no single right answer. As long as those HOWs are true to who you are and support your WHY.
Okay, so we've got WHY, We've got how, but I can't help but think, what about the what? Where does that fit in? We've touched on it, but I'd love to dig in a bit more.
Great question. We can't forget the what's. Those are the tangible things, the results, the stuff you make, the impact you have. And here's the thing. When your WHY and HOWs are solid, the what's often just flow from that. It's like having all the right ingredients for a cake.
So it's not like I have to force the what's to happen.
Nope. It's more about creating the right conditions, and the what's emerge naturally.
All right, this is making a lot of sense. So it's this whole cycle. I start with WHY, my deep purpose. Figure out my HOWs, those unique expressions of that purpose. And then boom, the what's, the results, they just kind of happen.
Exactly. It's like a recipe for authentic action, real impact.
Love that. Okay, so we've gone from WHY to how W. And now I'm really curious to see how this all comes together in action. How do we actually live this stuff?
And that's exactly what we'll explore in our final part. Putting your WHY and HOWs to work, making them real in your life.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of time in this deep dive, really getting into the WHY and the HOW, but now I'm ready for the, okay, what do I do with this part,
Yeah, it's easy to get stuck in the, oh, I know my WHY, that's enough mindset.
Totally. But Sinek says it's like having a blueprint for a house and never actually building it.
Exactly. It's the doing, the action that really makes it all come to life.
He talks about taking a stand, like living your WHY even when things get tough. Because let's be real, it's not always easy to stick to your values, especially when you're feeling pressured to, just go with the flow or take the easy way out.
It's about making choices every day, big and small, that reflect those WHYs and HOWs you've uncovered.
So that could be like speaking up for something you believe in, even if it's unpopular.
Exactly. Or maybe it's leaving a job that's just not aligned with your WHY anymore.
Or even just like how I spend my weekends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making sure those activities are actually energizing me, moving me closer to my purpose.
Absolutely. And I think it's also about sharing your WHY with others.
Oh, interesting. How do you mean?
Not in a braggy way, but in a way that invites other people in. Like, remember Steve, the steel salesman? When he started talking about his belief in using resources responsibly, it wasn't just a sales pitch anymore. It was like he was inviting his customers to be part of something bigger.
Yeah, it became less about the steel itself and more about a shared vision for the future.
Exactly. And that kind of sharing, it can be really powerful. It can create this ripple effect, inspiring other people to find their own WHY and start taking action too. And it's not just for individuals, it works for organizations too.
Totally. Like Southwest Airlines, their WHY is all about connecting people to what's important to them. And it's not just some marketing slogan. It's woven into everything they do.
Right, from how they treat their employees to the way they interact with their customers.
And it creates this feeling, when you fly with them, that their employees actually enjoy being there.
It's like their WHY is contagious. And that's what happens when an organization truly lives its WHY. It attracts people who resonate with that purpose. And that creates a culture where everyone feels like they belong, like they're part of something bigger than just a job.
But Sinek also talks about this thing called the split, which sounds kind of ominous.
Yeah, it's not great. It's basically what happens when an organization gets so big and successful that they lose sight of their WHY. They start focusing more on the what's, the products, the profits, all those external metrics.
So it's like they're growing really tall, but their roots aren't getting any deeper.
Exactly. And that's when things start to feel shaky. Employees get disengaged, customers feel like just transactions, and the organization loses its soul.
So how do you prevent that?
It takes conscious leadership. Leaders who are always reminding themselves and their teams about WHY, they do what they do. They make decisions that align with that WHY, even when it's hard, and they celebrate the people who embody those values every day.
So it's about creating a culture of WHY where everyone understands and believes in the purpose.
Exactly. And that's what Ultimate Software has done so well. They're all about creating a culture where people feel cared for and empowered. They invest in their employees, offer great benefits, and really foster a culture of trust and respect. It's no surprise they have such happy employees.
Yeah, it shows that living your WHY isn't just some feel-good concept. It has real, tangible results.
Exactly. And that's really what this whole deep dive has been about, understanding the power of WHY, how to find yours, and how to start living it in a way that brings you more fulfillment and helps you make a positive impact on the world.
Well said. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired.
Me too.
Ready to go out there and put this stuff into practice. So to everyone listening, I encourage you to take some time to really dive into your own stories. Uncover your WHY, and then start living it bravely. You never know, you might just spark a movement.
And remember, the world needs your WHY, so go out there, make it real, and let's all make a difference together, one WHY at a time.